Hello, welcome to Read by Ed. Today we are reviewing At Your Best by Carey Nieuwhof. How to get time, energy, and priorities working in your favor. Now, background on why I selected this book. Carey Nieuwhof has a leadership podcast. I'm really big on leadership. And I believe he was on he was a guest speaker on the Craig Rochelle podcast, leadership podcast, which I listened to. And he was talking about this book, and he was talking about time, energy, and priorities and At Your Best. And then I listened to him talk about the book on his podcast, and then he had like a worksheet. And hey, I talked about lead generators before on this. That was a lead generator. So I purchased the book, and this is one of the best books I've read as far as time, schedule, productivity. I need to reread it because even preparing for this book review, I was going through the book looking at highlights I made, and it was really, really good. So let's talk about this. I have 3 takeaways from At Your Best. The number one takeaway: top performers do what they're best at when they're at their best. So in the book, Carey Nieuwhof talks about the Thrive calendar. It's a calendar he created, and you kind of can see it here. It's red, yellow, and green. Well, this isn't the calendar, but this is what he used. And he talks about, like, as the book is titled, being at your best when you're at your best. And so the top performers do what they're best at when their body is at their best. So for instance, I looked at my life, because he makes you self-evaluate your life. My most creative time, I do a lot of creative work. My most creative time is anywhere from 6 to about 9 a.m. And so if I want to write, or if I want to, create scripts for these book reviews, whatever it may be, that's the best time for me to do it. Because then if I'm trying to do it when I'm not at my best, it won't happen. It won't be my best product. And so I really love that, because it made sense to me. I never knew this, but being a professional, working in sports and growing up, I would always get frustrated with doing certain things at certain times. So I was never good at doing homework at night. I was not. Somewhere between that 5 to 7, I am in the red zone, right? So let me go back, talking about red zone. He has 3 zones. There's the green zone when you're at your best. Your yellow zone, you're kind of like, I'm good. And the red zone is like, nah. And so it made sense to me. Like whenever my parents would tell me to do homework after school or after practice, 5 to 7, I couldn't focus. But whenever I woke up early the next morning, I got to school early, I was able to do my homework, because in the morning, that's when my brain was churning. Or even when I was a student, my favorite classes were in the morning. And so now I understand why, because that was when I was at my best. And so what I do now is I try my best to block my calendar off. And if there's anything I have to create, or if there's anything that involves problem solving or critical thinking, I do that in the morning when I am at my best. The second takeaway, speaking of this Thrive calendar, is he speaks about spending 80% of our time doing the 20% of things that matter the most. And that just blew me away. Like spending 80% of my time on the 20% of the things that matter the most. And it was really, really good, because he has a line in here where it says, if you have a blank space on your calendar, then you have just sacrificed that space to someone else's priorities. And I was like, yo, that's wild. So if I take the 20% I need and I put it all in my calendar at 80%, I take 80% of my time to do it, then I'm not doing minuscule things for other people, their priorities, or things that are tripping me when I have a deadline or I have something that's due. And this 20% is the most important thing that goes to that deadline, or whatever it may be. And it was just clarity for me, because I need to do this for this. No, I need to spend 80% of my time to the 20% of things that matter the most. And so that was a incredible just nugget for me, and has helped me, where literally I have been, I do podcasts, I have newsletters. So I have a podcast, I have 4 YouTube channels, I have 4 newsletters, and I write a lot. And in doing all that, there's I'll look at a graphic, or I'll be like, maybe I should do this. And I'm like, that little thing does not matter. What is the 20%? The 20% is the content. That is the most important thing. So let me spend all my time on the content. I don't need to worry about this graphic or that whatever. Just get the content done. And so that's really helped me. The third takeaway I got from this book is that we're only built for a small capacity of relationships. This one blew my mind, because I'm a relational person. I like people. I like interactions. I love people. I love relationships. I like friendships and acquaintances. But he broke it down to how much we really can take in. And he talked about your best friends. You can have 3 best friends, 12 friends, and 150 people in your tribe. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, like 3 best friends, 12 friends, and 150 people in your tribe, people you interact with. And when he's speaking about these relationships, he talks about how he even communicates with these people in the certain segments of those relationships. With his best friends, the 3 to 5, he communicates, but he gets back with them within an hour. With 12 friends, and it says 12 to 15 here, he gets with them within a few hours, always within the same day. And then with the tribe, same day or within 48 hours. Now, when I was reading this, I was like, dang, this is kind of like, kind of messed up because I like people. But he talks about how it just makes you productive. It's nothing against the tribe who may hear from you same day or 48 hours. But by doing that, and he also talks about being in office, like, and certain people, like meeting with certain people and not meeting with certain people, because people could take your energy and they can put a lot on your plate. And some of this stuff is like, hey, you know what? I can get back to this. That'll be fine. And so that was revolutionary for me. It's something that I got to get better at. And it's tough for me because I value people and I don't want anybody to feel like they're shunned. But it does make sense when you talk about productivity, and you talk about how to get your time, energy, and priorities working in your favor. Even though that relationship part can be tough for me to take in, I use the example of Jesus Christ. And his 3 guys were Peter, James, and John. His 12 friends were the disciples. And then he had a tribe of 100 people, followers, people who helped with his ministry. And that was that. When he needed prayer in the garden before his crucifixion, he brought Peter, James, and John to pray with him. Those were his people. And it's just like that example for me shows that, hey, there's nothing wrong. He was pouring into all of these people. He was helping all these people. But even Jesus had 3, 12, and 150. And so it was like when I understood that, it helped me understand this aspect a little better. Still fight with it because I'm like, I just don't want to, I don't want people to be like, you're that guy, but it's beneficial. If you're a person that's looking for productivity tips, if you're a person that's looking for how to get things done, like, hey, I need to get my time, energy, and priorities in order, or if you're like, man, I gotta stop wasting time doing things that don't matter, this is the book for you. I got a copy of it in the show notes. Check it out. Carey Nieuwhof, thank you so much for writing this.